It's one of my life goals is to make the good onion monster munch. I've got close with some tapioca crisps, but not quite there.
Make the puff ones.
Yeah.
Do you want to make them claw shape as well?
Yeah, I do. It's currently beyond me, but I'm going to get there.
So we're at the Creameries, so it's still at its infancy. So yeah, tell me about it. Talk me through the concept.
So the offer here is based on bread, cheese, wine and beer. So they're the things that we really focus on.
Very British stuff.
Very British. A lot of the produce is locally grown. We work with local farmers and cooperatives for our veg. The mushrooms, for example, are grown in a garage in Burnage. Which is really nearby.
Standard, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, most people probably have mushrooms growing in the garage, but not on purpose.
Yes, yeah, these guys do it on purpose and they grow really nice mushrooms. We put a lot of emphasis on where we get things from, where we source things. So from sort of the beer and wine suppliers to the guys that grow the mushrooms. But what we wanted to create with the Creameries is somewhere that feels really open and welcoming and casual. A lot of the work goes on behind the scenes in finding really nice produce and then sort of working hard to get the best out of it. But then we want it to feel like a really sort of low-key, relaxed kind of experience in here. And we're open for coffee and cake, and we've got, we're selling bread from the bakery in the morning. And then
a lot of bases.
Yeah, we're open, but our open hours are pretty long. It's sort of 8 a.m. till 11 p.m.
Should we start with an oyster, I think?
Yeah,
I guess the best place to start.
I'm
really funny with
cheers.
You should cheers them.
Cheers.
Are they? Oh, I can just.
You can however you like, but in one is fine, and you can either do the nasturtium before or after.
I'm just going to try and do it in one.
So fresh.
It's just the aftertaste that I love. Oh, so nice.
Yeah, they're really good oysters. I mean, I can't take any credit for that.
Anything else on them, or is it just?
It's lemon juice and the nasturtium. That's it.
Just it. But they've got so much flavour. So what was this again? This beetroot stuff?
Beetroot pickle. It's basically beetroot that's been roasted, and then we just puree it with vinegar and salt and sugar. I really love beetroot. It's on quite a lot of dishes.
It's coming back in fashion. You see it everywhere now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes so well with everything. It's one of my favourite things to cook with. I've never actually sat in here and eaten. It's the first time.
It's a bit of a treat.
Yeah, I'm always in the kitchen. It's really nice.
I wanted to ask you about the space. Because I'm assuming it's quite old. No.
Brand new.
Is it?
So, the only thing remaining from the original building is that first skin of bricks at the front.
Right, where the signage.
The signage is,
Is the sign original?
Yeah.
So it was.
So all those tiles are original. It was a dairy. Well, it was a creamery.
What's the difference?
I think, I might be wrong here, I think a creamery is somewhere where lots of different farms bring their milk for processing.
Right, so turn it into other things?
Yeah, so bring cream to turn into butter or milk to kind of turn into other things and sell on. A long time ago when this was a creamery, it was sort of all fields around here and there were lots and lots of farms.
It's hard to imagine that was flying around here.
Yeah, there's a lady who lives locally who's I think she's in her 80s, and she popped in. She said when she was a girl that it was all farms around here, lots and lots of cows everywhere. So there was need for a creamery.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're trying to continue that tradition by having lots of milk-based things. So we make yogurt and butter and our own sort of fresh cheeses and stuff. We sort of make our own hams and.
As you cure stuff as well. Yeah. I think one of my biggest dreams is I want to have a smoker in my back garden.
Yes.
That'll be so good.
Yeah, I do.
Is it quite hard to cure stuff?
No, it's really easy. So the mackerel was just 24 hours with the salt, sugar and dill mix, and then smoked. But you can make a smoker out of anything. I mean, it's. I've
do it out of a bin, can't you?
Yeah, well, I've used a tin foil tray and a colander in the past. Yeah.
So it's as easy as that.
It's really easy. It's really simple.
Give it a go. That cheese is delicious, by the way.
We get our cheeses from the Courtyard Dairy up in Settle. And they're brilliant. They finish cheeses as well as, so they don't just kind of buy them and sell them on. They buy cheeses in, and then they age them until they're perfect, and then they sell them out when they're sort of at their peak. So. It's really nice having
it's got a really interesting texture. It's like soft.
Yeah, it's kind of creamy in the middle.
And it tastes quite meaty.
Yes, well,
it's interesting.
So that's from the roast flavours from the celeriac stock. But also the mushrooms as well, they're really meaty tasting mushrooms.
They're really like substantial, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I love this cheese.
So with these mushrooms, you don't have to stick to seasons with them?
No, they can be grown year round. I think that's the thing with urban farming, it kind of, you're less dependent on the seasons.
But it's so easy to get stuff nowadays.
It is, yeah, particularly in supermarkets.
Everything's at our fingertips, we don't have to conform to anything.
Yeah, we sort of try and do the exact opposite here, and just we limit ourselves to stuff that's ready and available and at its peak, rather than sort of buying in stuff that has to be shipped or stuff that's it's just not the right time of year for it. It's just not going to be the nicest it could be.
It's also better for the environment.
Yeah. It's a really nice way to cook. It's nice to have to think about menus in that way. But I was working for Real Junk Food Project before.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Well, so there you have no idea what's coming in day to day because it's all food that was destined for the bin. So you can't place an order, you can't plan a menu, you can't choose what's coming in. You just get landed with a load of ingredients, and you have to make a dinner out of it, and that can be really hard when it's all potatoes. Yeah, exactly. But we kind of figured out a way of making it work. By instead of giving people a menu, we'd take a list of likes and dislikes and dietary requirements from them, and just feed them what we had.
Where would you get the sort of main bulk of your stuff?
From Ocado. So it's returned home shops. So if somebody's not in, or the van gets stuck in traffic and the delivery can't be made, then the entire shop goes back to the depot and was historically going into the incinerator and then into landfill. We've picked up mops and buckets and school shoes and doormats and deodorant and Tampax and everything that you can buy from an online supermarket was getting thrown away. Unless it had an individual value of more than £40, it was worth their while to pay someone to go through and take it out. We'd also get quite a lot of stuff from New Smithfield Market, because with veg wholesale, when they're selling to retailers, it needs to have a good sort of 5 to 7 day shelf life on it. So once fruit and veg is ripe or almost ripe, it goes in the bin, and we're talking pallets and pallets and pallets worth of fruit and veg, because they just can't sell it. So we'd go and pick up perfectly ripe tomatoes and herbs and veg that was just, at its best, but going in the bin because it wasn't sellable. It's not about food safety or food hygiene.
A lot of people do sort of get sort of a bit grossed out by a lot of vegetables and stuff when they're not perfect or they don't look right.
I think that's changing. I know lots of supermarkets are doing their wonky veg and stuff, which is selling really well apparently. And I think people are starting to get the idea that things don't need to look perfect in order to taste good. I think.
I can't wait to see what we want next.
Okay, I'll go and prepare. So I should probably start by filleting this.
Yeah, go for it.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, so did you always want to cook, or what happened?
No, I was at uni in Manchester. I grew up in Bury, North Manchester, and then went to uni here, and just really wasn't enjoying it at all.
What did you study?
I studied French and Italian. I spent a year between college and uni in France, and then I came back and studied French and Italian. I'd always enjoyed cooking. And I think I was in my second year, I was failing my second year at university, and I just had a eureka moment in the bath. It was completely like I was in the bath thinking about some coursework that I hadn't done and needed to hand in the next day. And then at the time I was working for Cape Mountain at the Roadhouse. So that's where I started cooking. I knew they needed someone to cater for touring bands.
Yeah, I didn't know they did they not do food, or did they?
They didn't, but they had to for their licence. So Kate was kind of needed to get someone to do food, and I just volunteered. And I really enjoyed it, and that was the start of it really. I then decided I wanted to do it professionally and left uni, and I got a copy of the Good Food Guide and I read it cover to cover.
Oh wow.
And I chose 5 or 6 places to apply to, and not many places got back to me, but Heston did. Fat Duck replied, and I went down to meet him for a chat.
What's he like?
He was lovely, he was really encouraging, but he just said they couldn't take on anyone, and he said go away and get some experience and then apply. So the Shower Bay was another place that responded to me up in the Lake District. Started off in housekeeping because I didn't have any jobs in the kitchen, and then I got into the kitchen. I was the first woman ever to work in their kitchen.
Oh really?
Yeah, they had women in what they called the bakehouse, which was the desserts section, and a woman who used to come and make marmalade once a year, but they didn't have any female chefs, so I think they were all a bit freaked out when I turned up.
It's quite alien to me, the fact that there's still a bit of a divide between men being chefs and women being cooks.
Well, I don't know, I just find the whole thing a bit weird. It's quite an odd setup. It's kind of army-like, and I would call myself a cook rather than a chef, but just because of all the association with, it kind of feels a bit like a boys' club.
Yeah.
And a bit sort of establishment and weird. I don't really feel part of it, to be honest.
No, that whole scene.
Yeah, I think it takes quite a lot of energy to stay involved in kind of that sort of scene, and I'd rather just cook nice food.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that men and women make? Oh, thank you. Do you think there's any difference in sort of how they cook?
Not really. I don't think so. I think a lot of young women, I've seen a lot of grit and determination in young women, a little bit more so than in a lot of young men who start off cooking. I think there's still that sense that you need to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, and there's also that thing of, especially in young women, and that this isn't just in, the food industry, it's the fact that, you have to prove yourself before you want to have kids, really.
Yeah.
There's that thing that exists.
There is, there's that
and it's worse,
whole biology thing.
Yeah, because you kind of have to be like, okay, I kind of have to make my career before I choose to have children.
And
I might not have one. Yeah, and also your hours are so much
they're
work.
really, really, really antisocial, and it's really difficult. Like there aren't nurseries that are open in the evening.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to organise childcare and organise your life. It's definitely very challenging.
Have you done it though?
Yeah, I've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't seen me for about 6 weeks because I'm here. That's not quite true. We're closed on a Sunday evening, a Monday and Tuesday. So I work in the day Monday and Tuesday, but I'm home those evenings. So, but I mean, that's just set up time. It's always a bit crazy at the start of it when you open a restaurant, and hopefully over time I'll be able to sort of be here less.
Yeah, but at the start you've been here
every day.
Full time, every day.
I've been here every day for 6 weeks. Yes.
So have you been doing it all yourself?
Yeah.
Well, not all yourself, but
no, I've got help.
Yeah.
But I've definitely been here. The team's very small and the kitchen's very small, so I couldn't have left anyway. But even if I could, I wouldn't have wanted to.
They're long hours.
They're very long hours, yeah.
Are you there from the start to finish?
I have been. The first week we were open for breakfast as well, so I was working 7 a.m. till 1 in the morning.
Oh God.
Every day, and I mean that was
coffee.
Yeah, I mean that was fine when I was 25, but I'm not 25 anymore.
Yeah.
So it's 80, 90-hour weeks are I find them really hard these days.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. I mean it's all right, and it's only short term, but we very quickly ditched the cooked breakfast because we've got so much in terms of bakery stuff and pastries anyway. And running 3 services a day was just too much for the size of the team. But we were making our own bacon and stuff because that's the only way I'd want to do it.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do it, I want to do it properly.
Yeah, you want to do it your way.
So I'd rather just not do it than do half a job of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to have some potato.
Yeah.
I think we started off with about half as much cheese in.
Yeah.
And it was just a case of add more cheese.
Go
More
hard,
cheese.
go home
More
when it comes
cheese.
to cheese. What kind of cheese is in it?
This one is Mrs. Kirkham's Lancashire. We've done it with all sorts. It's quite nice done with Lanark Blue as well. That works well.
So did you end up working for Heston?
Yeah, I worked there for 4 years in the end. I went to Sharrow Bay and then went to the States, worked in the States for about a year, and then came back to the UK and applied again.
You were ready to do it then?
Well, I'd had some experience. I was still not very experienced. I'd been cooking about 2 years. I was a chef de partie then. But yeah, I mean, that was a very formative experience. It was amazing.
Which restaurant was it?
It was the Fat Duck.
Fat Duck.
Yeah. I was there for 3 years. Worked my way up to sous chef there. And then took a job doing research and development into historical food at the pub Heston owned next door, the Heinz Head, which was amazing. I got access to this huge library of historical cookbooks. Got to meet loads of amazing food historians, lots of whom I'm still in contact with today. And I became absolutely fascinated with food history.
Is that quite a big thing for you?
Yeah, very much. Food history and traditions, like local traditions, and just kind of how people used to eat and live, and how people used to make it through the winter, and sort of preserving techniques, and that whole kind of resourcefulness where you don't waste anything.
Yeah.
And
is your menu here sort of inspired by that in any way?
I think everything I do now is really. I want food to kind of be culturally sort of relevant to where we are.
What sort of time period do you find the most fascinating in terms of food?
Probably 18th century.
Okay, so that's when they're starting to like learn proper like techniques and stuff.
We had a lot of coal by then in use, and so I don't know if you know, heard of the French have a nickname for the English, it's le roast beef, which is the roast beefs.
Yeah.
And it's because the French used to send their chefs over to Britain to learn how to roast meat, because we got really good at roasting meats because we had this coal, and it was the kind of the type of heat and the duration of the heat generated was perfect for roasting meats. That was kind of a bit of a golden age where we had this amazing reputation across Europe for our food. We only became a bit of a joke after the Industrial Revolution, and so many people moved to the cities, and we lost lots of our sort of our food culture and traditions in a way that didn't happen in Spain or France or Italy. Lots of those kind of local food traditions, of local cheeses and meats and stuff,
So that all
are still
died,
very strong.
yeah.
But in the UK, it kind of died out very quickly. Well, it's not really true anymore. But I think there was a time when the food scene in the UK wasn't great. But there were still really brilliant cooks doing really brilliant things. People like Jane Grigson and Elizabeth David. They were really kind of erudite and knew loads about food history and stuff, and wrote beautifully. But also they were all about sort of elevating food culture in this country and stuff, and sort of looking back to a time when we were better thought of as cooks.
So you say you're interested in local history. What is local to here in terms of
things like black peas. So there's a dish I do with black peas and vinegar. So black peas are a berry thing, or a Lancashire thing, and they're traditionally served in a polystyrene cup at fairgrounds with loads of malt vinegar in.
Are they like black beans?
They're similar. They're like mushy peas, but they're black. So we make a black pea puree, and then we make a malt vinegar jelly and batter and deep fry it. So it's also a little bit like mushy peas and scraps.
Yeah.
So my mum used to say that she one of her sort of treats when she was a kid was getting mushy peas and scraps from the chip shop. The scraps are all the bits of batter that have come off.
Yeah, they're the best bit.
Yeah, exactly. You know, at the fireworks display at Heston Park, there's always someone selling black peas.
I've never heard of that one. That's a
Yeah.
really interesting one.
Yeah, it's one of my favourites.
What do you think of sort of Manchester Mancunian cuisine?
I think it has totally transformed in the last few years. It's, I think we opened Aubrey in 2009, and it felt like there wasn't really anything else around that was like that was somewhere I'd want to take people visiting from out of town.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm quite spoilt for choice. You know, Hawksmoor's great, and it's always really good for drinks and stuff. I love Simon's Smiles, I love Umizushi.
Yeah.
They're all totally different, but just really good at that thing that they do. It's really growing, I think, the food and drink scene here. And I think the minute you get one or two things that are operating at a really high standard, then everyone else kind of follows suit. You know, the standard generally just really raises.
And
Which is only a good
how do you
thing.
feel about Manchester's sort of lack of a star?
Well, I mean, like I was kind of saying earlier, I think the whole Michelin thing, that feels a little bit like a boys' club as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how relevant it is anymore. I don't think. I mean, I love restaurants, and I love lots of Michelin-starred restaurants, and I ended up working in a 3-star restaurant, which was the most incredible experience.
That was just insane.
It's not a world I'm really involved in anymore, and so I don't think it matters really. I don't think. I think it's more important to have loads of places that you can enjoy than one Michelin-starred place.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Was it ever relevant for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think when that was the kind of the world I worked in.
It would be hard to work in a 3-star restaurant and not
Yeah, no,
care
it was
about
very important. But I suppose I just sort of got older and busier.
Yeah.
And
It's just not.
no, I think I'm really lucky to get to do a job that I really love. And I really love cooking, I love restaurants. So.
But it makes it much more pure, doesn't it? It's just sort of, it's not doing it to get something. It's
No, it's not.
Striving for something. It's just that being.
It has its own, just making food that people enjoy is an end in itself. It's a goal in itself. And when that happens, that's just,
It's
that's
just the best thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Where do you get your wild garlic from?
All along the banks of the River Mersey, in Chorlton Water Park.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And then near me, I live in Prestwich, there's the Clough. I really just don't think you can beat shellfish
In butter.
with some kind of booze in and garlic and butter.
Yeah, it's just a match made in heaven, isn't it?
There's some homemade sour cream in that as well.
It's homemade sour cream. How do you make sour cream?
It's a culture, so similar to how you make yoghurt. We only serve wild meat here. We don't serve any farmed meat at all. Actually, we do use some goat, which is farmed. It's billy goats that would normally they're normally a waste product of the dairy industry. So when billy goats are born, they're usually clubbed on the head and got rid of. So there's a chap who rears billy goats on for meat. So they meet the same end, but it's just less wasteful than.
What's I've never had goat before. I'd like to. What's goat like, and then part B, what's billy goat like?
I think goat's lovely. It's similar to lamb, but slightly milder, which you probably wouldn't expect. It's
Oh
sweeter.
yeah, I'd expect it to be much stronger.
So it's a bit like a lammy sort of pork, so it's got that sweetness that pork's got, and also it takes on flavour really well, like pork does. So it's really good for making hams and bacon and,
Oh yeah,
and
I
that
think I
kind of
saw on
thing.
the menu. Was it what? It's like
Yeah,
goat
goat bacon.
goat bacon.
Yeah.
Wow. Has it got enough fat content?
It's got loads of fat. We get so much goat fat. So we do things like make our Yorkshire puddings in the goat fat and stuff, and make goat dripping to have with bread.
It's really interesting, sort of different sort of cured meats. Like that's just so different. I've never seen that anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, they're just such a great. I mean, it's a really good way of not wasting anything, obviously, because you're preserving the meat. But also, it's a really interesting ingredient to have, and just because of the sort of nature of what we do, it's nice to be able to offer plates of cured meats to have with a drink or cheese boards. We do quite a big snacks menu, so people can just come for a drink and have a couple of snacks. It's not just about sitting down for a full
People do
meal.
just come in for drinks and sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got oysters on the snacks menu and homemade crisps and deep fried cheese and. We put quite a lot of time and effort into the snacks menu, so it's nice booze and nice snacky things to have.
Yeah. And what about your wine?
The wine's all natural.
All natural.
So Katie Scott from Love and Labour is our restaurant manager.
Yeah.
So she's done the wine list, and we've got some absolutely stunning. It's not all completely natural. Some of it's just low intervention rather than natural, but it's all really, really good.
Which one's your favourite dish?
Probably, I think the clams actually.
Yeah.
And it's really simple, but it just kind of it reminds me of being on holiday.
Yeah.
Actually,
It's like a sort of
I think shellfish and cold white wine is it's.
You said you speak French,
Yes.
but has that influenced your cooking?
I've never worked in France as a chef, but yeah, I mean, where I started at Charabet was very classical French and British cooking, and I suppose the whole kind of brigade setup is quite French, and you talk about a sous chef and a chef de partie, and
Yeah, it all comes from France, doesn't it?
yeah,
Sort of, basic.
yeah. There's quite a lot of sort of jargon that's French.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'll probably do called veg stock nage.
Yeah.
So veg stock, I don't know why, but it's just a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I suppose I don't know. I've never really thought about it, but
I mean, would you say that French food is still some of the best in the world, or?
I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, I think that I'm sure there is some fantastic food in France, of course, but there is also fantastic food in Greece and Hungary and and everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's really nice kind of learning about different sort of food from different countries and stuff. That's really interesting.
Is that something you're quite interested in?
Yeah, it is, because I think new food is always just it's quite rare, because we have access to so much food these days. We're not like we have so many different sorts of restaurants that we can go to and try food from all over the world, which is amazing. But it's not very often you come across completely new things, like stuff you've never tried or never heard of. So that's really exciting. Yeah, I think I could quite get into Chinese food actually, but I bought a Fuchsia Dunlop book recently, and that's got ingredients in that I've never tried, which is exciting.
Heard of before.
No,
That's
what I used to love about Simon Smiles when it was in the basement supermarket. You'd walk, go in, and there'd be ingredients that I would just have no idea what to do with them.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine to be influenced by other things. Lots of the dishes are, like the mackerel's very Danish.
Yeah, that's true. Like saltfish is quite like Portuguese, isn't it?
Yeah, Portuguese, Mediterranean.
like fresh.
Although it's all British ingredients,
Yeah,
it's wild
exactly.
garlic
Yeah,
and
yeah.
local butter and cider from Dorset, and the clams are from Dorset, so it's a completely British dish.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing is the ingredients, where they come from.
Yeah, yeah.
It keeps that close to home.
Yeah. All right, shall I get some dessert ready?
Right, what should I start with?
I would maybe start with a biscuit and some wine.
Are you a sweet or a savoury person?
Savoury.
Savoury. So you pick
I'd go cheese.
cheese.
If I only had room for one, it'd be cheese. And I think because I'm not mad on desserts, I like to keep them quite simple.
It's got a very satisfying wobble, that.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's a very light set. It's whipped cream and gelatin.
So why did you choose Chorlton for Creameries?
It's just where the site was.
Just where it was?
Yeah. Similarly to when we had Aubrey, it was just because the site came up in Prestwich.
So is Chorlton somewhere you're quite familiar with? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I lived here a while ago. When I was a student. Lots and lots of friends live here. So yeah, I know it really well.
And what do you think of the sort of food scene here?
Oh, it's great. I mean, there's loads going on.
Yeah.
Still haven't made it into San Juan. I've tried 3 or 4 times, it's been full every time I've been.
But yeah, the food scene seems really good here. In fact, I think in the suburbs in general, it's kind of...
Yeah, and it's changing in Prestwich as well. When we first opened in Prestwich, there were no bars there. I think we have 4 bars now.
Yeah.
And they're all really nice, cool little independent places.
And on the outskirts, whatever your sort of favourite places to eat?
Well, a family favourite of ours is Cromer. The kids absolutely love Cromer. They've got whatever it...
Pizzas.
Yeah, it's pizzas, it's Italian food. And the wine list is good as well, so it's nice for me too.
It's quite kid-friendly here, isn't it?
Very, yeah.
There.
We had a lot of comments, so we did Sunday lunch yesterday, and we had a lot of comments from people saying that it was really nice to be able to eat good food and drink nice wine, but be totally relaxed about having kids here, and they can just kind of sit in the corner and play. And there were various different groups of families in yesterday, and the kids were all playing together.
Oh, that's
really
really sweet.
lovely. It was a really nice atmosphere. It's very informal.
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to kind of sit, if you had 2 couples on a table, to be sort of at separate ends,
Yeah.
with people next to each other.
Yeah.
But it just sort of lends itself to a relaxed approach to eating and stuff.
That was really nice and mild.
This is great. This is a pecorino fresco from Yorkshire. So pecorino is sheep's milk cheese, and you get it young like this all the way up to really mature and like sort of like a parmesan.
Try some of this pectin stuff. What's it go best with?
I think the blue.
Blue. I was in Holland recently, and they use rhubarb like a vegetable, which completely just blew my mind.
Really?
Yeah, it's really odd. I can't ever
Whoa.
have it. Was really weird.
Yeah, but that sounds cool. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, good. I don't know what they did to it, but it wasn't that sweet.
I think I've got a second cheese stomach.
Second cheese
Yeah.
That's a nice little plate of cheese, that is. That'd be nice to sort of snack on as well.
Yeah, we do the cheese for snacks in the sort of bar area at the front as well.
Yeah. What are the crisps like?
So the crisps are homemade, depending on what potatoes we've got in that week, and then we make different seasonings. So we've got like a red wine salt and a lemon and black pepper salt and a pickled onion salt. So we just kind of change up the
Homemade
flavours.
pickled onion crisps. Sounds so good.
One day, it's, one of my life goals is to make pickled onion monster munch. I've got close with some tapioca crisps, but not quite there.
Make the puff ones.
Yeah.
Do you want to make them claw shape as well?
Yeah, I do. It's currently beyond me, but I'm going to get there.
I'm going to get that. I have every faith in you. And when you do, please let me know.
I'm
I'm not going to keep you because I know you're going to sports day.
Yes.
But thank you so much for cooking for me.
My pleasure.
Really
It's
loved
lovely
it.
to chat in.
I'm going to be back for probably breakfast, probably lunch, probably dinner, probably some drinks in between.
Fantastic.
So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well done.